Most people in the world have never even heard the Queen of England speak. So how can you be a queen if everybody can hear your voice? How can you be a king if you got a baby by all these different women and so many people can have access to you sexually? How can you call yourself a king, brother? How can you call yourself a queen when every man in the world get to see your body parts? Okay. Whether that's your, we don't know what Queen Elizabeth's body looked like. The woman didn't speak. So how is all these loud mouth claiming kings and queens of royalty, but their actions and their behaviors shows the actions of peasants?
Okay, and I agree with that.
So let me say this. So let me finish. I listen to you. Okay. So if it's 100 million people in Africa, let's just say it was 10,000 kings and queens.
Welcome back to the channel. So you see what's on the screen. So you might be wondering, okay, Jay, why in the world did we just watch that? Well, I have another video coming, and that video will kind of do some explaining. But I did want to talk briefly to this video before we got started. I think what he's leaning to, and honestly, I've kind of believed this myself without saying it out loud, people act like what they represent, all right? And I think that was the main thing, the main point that he was trying to make. And I also understand by saying that a lot of Black people are trying to find, that essence within them that uplifts them, right? They're trying to be proud of themselves. And a lot of Black people are not. They're just not. And when we go back to, again, where a lot of this stuff comes from, it comes from actually the civil rights, especially on the Black Panther side, when you start to really look at a lot of that, a lot of people in that era recognized that it was a lot of Black people that were not really satisfied with being Black. We've had issues with colorism. We've had issues with whitening of the skin. We've had issues with pressing hair. We've had all these issues that have come out of a lot of the issues that we've gone through, in the past here in America, right? But again, I think that we, just like when I'm telling, women, that, hey, y'all don't have to say independent anymore. We know that all of you all are independent. Everybody under 50, okay, that's been your whole life. You don't have to say it. No more saying it. You're just an adult. Well, it's the same thing. You don't have to move into this era of trying to find pride, because a lot of Black people are actually very proud now of who they are as a whole, as a community. I think you'll always find bits and pieces of Black people that are struggling with that, depending upon what school they went to, what they experienced, like I say, in middle school and maybe in elementary. But in general, I would think that most Black people are very satisfied with being Black, and they're very happy about being Black. So even the concept of saying everybody's a king or a queen can be a little bit troubling, to the man's point, because they're not acting like a king or a queen. It was, I don't know if you guys watch Game of Thrones, but, and I know as a Christian, I probably should have been watching it, but, I'm not gonna lie, the storytelling was very good to me. But there is a point where there's one guy that's in there, and he's basically this absolutely horrible person. And he tries to get every single person, to call him king, because he becomes king. So he really forces people to, to say it. And there's a point where one of the characters says, when you walk in kingdom, when you walk as a king, you don't even have to remind anybody, because people naturally do it. And for all of the, sci-fi fans, if you go back to the brand new reboot, okay, of Star Trek with Chris Pine playing, Captain Kirk, there's a point throughout, that first movie that where everybody forgets to call Spock, this is a little bit of a spoiler, but to call Spock captain, because there's a point where Spock is actually given the ability to be captain of the USS Enterprise. And when that happens, people are fumbling over calling Spock captain. But when Captain Kirk or Kirk finally becomes captain, nobody fumbles over it anymore. They don't fumble over saying it because they feel in their gut that he is the captain. And this is one of the problems, unfortunately, with a lot of people, because they move and they groove in a way where they want a title. They want somebody to lift them up, but then they don't want to act like that. They don't want to act in a way that is behooving of said title, right? See, when a woman acts like a queen or a princess, because I actually don't even like the word queen, to be honest with you, but that's something slightly different. But when a woman acts like a queen or a princess, then people really have no problem calling her as such. And when a man conducts himself as a king, a lot of women don't have a problem calling him as such. But just like the guy said, if we're in an environment where every single person is out here saying and doing all this horrible stuff, that's not the mindset of a king or a queen. That's the mindset of a fool. And again, the Bible talks about all of this in Proverbs. That's why I'm always encouraging you all to read Proverbs. And I know a lot of people are very, are new to my channel. And I know a lot of people that might be watching, y'all might not be hardcore Christians. And honestly, this is not a call to the altar. This is not a call to the altar if you don't have Jesus in your life. If you don't have Jesus right now, this is not a call. But what I am saying to you, brothers and sisters, is that God has talked to you. And in the book of Proverbs and in the book of Matthew, which are the two that I encourage you to check out, you get fatherly advice. And for many people that did not have a good father for 18 years of your life, working with your mother, because like I said, you knowing your dad and spending summers with him is totally different than your parents trying to work it out for 18 years, right? So if you are not in that situation, that's why I encourage everybody to do it. But I really encourage those people, because you need to understand what a good father is, what he's like, and the advice that he probably would have given you if you were his child. All right, so now let's get to the next video.
Loved when I came across that video and you said, when you get through the door, I take your boots off, and he just seems so happy, and you say, sir. I've been practicing that. I call my husband sir, and I enjoy it. He's like, why you call me sir? I'm like, because you the captain.
What you are.
And he loves it. He loves it. So I wanted that because my husband would not come inside the house. He would not come home, and I was like, wow, I just want to be the woman that he's just
Excited to come home to.
Now he calls me when he gets off work. I'm coming home.
Oh,
you want to watch our show?
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is so amazing. Like, I can't believe I fought this so much. I fought this so I could feel powerful.
Also, I'll tell you a little bit about, like I say, the first comment. And it basically says our attitudes and what we do when our men come home has a lot to do with whether or not he will be excited to come home. When I first started to welcome my husband home with excitement, a warm greeting, a hot meal, etc., the change was almost instant. After all, who would be excited to come home to a nagging, miserable man or woman? Ladies, we have more power than we realize. Also, I would like to say right here that Sarah actually called Abraham Lord. All right? So this is partially biblical. So now we can bring it all home to the main point of this video. See, there is an attitude that we all have and that we take. Like I say, first, the person has to be deserving of said thing. Okay, so that's what I was talking about in the first part. But then there is a reciprocal attitude that we can take or we cannot take. And that part of it is the completion of things. One of the things that you've heard me say multiple times is I'm always telling you to be selfless, not selfish. Selfless. What this particular lady was doing was she was trying to give her husband everything. She's saying, you are my sir. You are my Lord. You are my king. Not putting him over Jesus or over God, but she is basically saying he is the little Lord, right? Okay, he is the Lord of the manor. He is the king of this house. And she is treating him as such. She's rushing to the door. She's making sure that he knows that she is excited about the relationship that they have together. And immediately she noticed a huge change in his behavior, right? Because see, it starts with two people being good, in quotes, right? So both people got to be decent, because this ain't even going to work, unless both people are halfway decent. But then the other part of it was that she used an extra title. She used an extra situation to actually even lift the man even higher. Okay. And again, I'm going to be real with you. I actually had one lady that I dated that did this. One. Okay. And when she did it, it hit different. I mean, it really did hit different. And if it wasn't for some things between us, she probably could have been the one. I mean, for real, because it hit different. And she exalted me in a way that I never, had it before. And it's very powerful, especially from women to men, because men, many times we're looking for respect. We don't really get it, especially as a Black man, you don't really get it in your day-to-day life. And so to come home and have a woman to say, in her case, sir, or for a woman to say, king, or to say Lord, or whatever it is that she uses, to exalt her man. Okay, that works dividend. That just, it's just an outpouring. You want to figure out how you want to get a man to do stuff for you. That's how you do it. There are women out there that serve their husband first. They serve their husband before they serve their children. They serve their husband before they serve themselves. They make sure that every single person in the family, the children, everybody goes to daddy first. Daddy is the king. And they treat him as such. And those types of environments, when they're healthy, it's like it's almost like they're enjoying doing their job. They're enjoying playing their part in it. And there seems to be a lot stronger connection, again, when it's healthy. And I want to make sure I say that because, again, there's always, and unfortunately, we're out here on this internet where somebody will take a little bit of something and they'll run with it, right? It's like the whole concept of the prize, right? And women being the prize. It's like people took that and they ran way to left field. And I still don't believe that was the essence of what, Harvey was thinking about when, he said it in the beginning. And so we want to make sure that, ladies, if you find a king out here, if you find a man out here that you can uplift, then lift him up. Why not? And I think that is the core element. So many women, I feel like, and even men to a degree, we're praying to God to send us our person. We're telling God all these things, about that person. But when are we telling God what we're willing to do if you send the person, right? I'm not going to go all the way into it, but in the book of Samuel, what we see is Samuel's mother calling out to God, because at this particular point, she has not had a child. And so she really wants a child. So she is calling out, praying out, pouring her heart out to the point where the priest thinks she's drunk. She's basically saying, God, if you will send me a son, if you will send me a child, I will dedicate him back to you. I will give him back to you. I will 100% give him to you. I just want that experience of childbirth, and I want to know that there's a child out here that has my blood. So Lord God, please send me a child. Now notice how she prayed here. Notice how her prayer was about giving. She had a giving prayer. It wasn't a receiving prayer. See, that's one of the reasons why a lot of us fail. is because we have receiving prayers. We don't have giving prayers, right? So what happened was God answered her prayer. And so she did exactly what she said she was going to do. After about a year or so, she took the child to, the synagogue, and she gave the child to the synagogue, and they basically raised. Now, later we learned that God opened her womb and she had, more children. But notice how in the beginning, it was a sacrifice. It was a sacrificial prayer. It was something she had to do. There are so many of us out here that we're praying for God to send us someone that lines up with what we want. But we're not saying, God, if you send me somebody, I'm going to treat them better than they could ever ask to be treated. I am going to bend over backwards for them. I am going to make sure that their life is an awesome life, God. I am going to be the best husband or the best wife. I am going to do everything I can in order to bless the person that you have sent me with. How many of us are saying that prayer? Right? See, these are two totally different stances on life. The stance of, I want mine, I'm going to do for me, versus I'm going to give out. I am going to do for others, right? Because see, when you're walking in that giving mode and you're walking in a mindset of ownership, you're walking in the mindset of a true husband or wife. And the more you're willing to give away, the more it opens you up for the opportunity to receive. You see how that works? You have to give out to receive back. Now, again, I always have to do this aside because I'm out here on this internet and people will take a clip and then they won't really get it. Okay, you still have to pick well. You have to pick giving people, right? But at the end of it, this lady's attitude, it wasn't so much about calling her man sir, okay, or whatever else she was doing. It was more about the attitude of, I am going to give him the best experience that any husband on this earth can have. And as soon as she started to move more and more into that space, it blessed her marriage and it blessed her relationship. Now, that again does not mean that on day one, when y'all just first start dating someone, that you should come in with this attitude. No. This is something reserved special for the person that proves themselves to be special. All right. So hopefully this helped you. I really liked both of those videos. And so down in that description, there is a lot of really great information. I'm all about marriage. Those that have hung out with me for a while know that that is what I'm about. I will help you to get married. Hopefully we can find some fair and balanced nature out here on this internet. Anyway, please like, please subscribe, and I'm going to see you all in the very next video.